Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Duck the IRS. Thank you guys for being here. Parham Khorsandi, managing attorney at Victory Tax Lawyers, host of the Duck the IRS podcast. We have with us a very special guest, somebody that I've known since 2011, I think, Miss Jackie Rubio.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jackie, for being here. Jackie's really nervous to be on the podcast, so we had to calm her nerves with a couple of shots of tequila.
We did. Vodka.
No, I'm just kidding.
Vodka.
So today we're going to talk about something that is kind of weird to talk about, but I think is very important in what we want to deal with, which is tax resolution companies as a whole. I think the industry has a little bit of a black eye.
Definitely.
Maybe more than a black eye, maybe a few scars also. And we want to talk about the tax resolution industry because it's really important to know what companies are out there, how they're being regulated, and what kind of service and product they're putting out there.
Right.
So just to give everybody a little background, the tax resolution industry started about 35 years ago. And initially, there was only a few tax resolution companies, and it wasn't really a big thing. Nobody really had IRS representation. And these companies were kind of like the forefathers of the tax resolution industry. Me and Jackie actually worked for one of these companies back in 2011 for a few years. And so when they initially started, there was no such thing as big, large companies having attorneys and EAs and CPAs to represent people. Everybody was kind of just working with the IRS on their own, and the IRS was very aggressive back then. So because of these companies, they've made changes to the laws. IRS has to follow some better procedure, and it really just opened up the world to tax resolution. Now, our firm is not similar to a lot of firms out there because we are a law firm. And we have attorneys that own the firm. We have attorneys that do the consultation, and we're state bar regulated and everything. We're probably one of the few places like that, huh, Jackie?
I definitely agree. Even being able to say tax law firm
Yeah.
versus a tax resolution company just gives you that little bit of,
Absolutely.
advantage.
So to what Jackie's saying, these tax resolution companies are not regulated at
No.
all.
A lot of the times the people running it don't even have experience, are not licensed, are not attorneys, but they start these tax resolution companies. And so having attorneys running and working your case really is an advantage to the taxpayer.
Yeah, and that's a good point because what we see a lot of times is investors will bring in money and say, okay, what business should I invest in? And they come and they'll
Definitely.
put millions of dollars into advertising for a tax resolution company where the manager has no experience in tax resolution. They try to hire whoever they can hire and ultimately just pump up their sales. And after a couple of years of making money, that place kind of winds down and then another place is brought up. So I would probably say there's over 200 tax resolution companies in the nation. That's maybe an understatement. But they just get churned out. They'll open up, make a bunch of sales, not provide service, and close down, and have it be a situation where the poor clients, are the ones that are getting detrimented to this.
I agree. And like you said, a lot of these places, it's salespeople. So their background is in sales. So they're there to sell as many retainers as they can per day, not really caring about the outcome of the case. And then the client sits there for years and years until the business shuts down, and then they get shuffled to a new company, So
Exactly. And
terrible.
the reason why we know this is, and we're not bad mouthing any companies. I'm sure that there are great companies out there that are working the cases. But we just, in talking to so many clients and hearing what they have to say, we know that this is out there. And we have firsthand experience of working at a place that initially really did take care of their clients. And I feel like at that time was doing a good job. And as the years went on and management changed, it kind of went into a situation where they had 10,000 clients and they didn't know how to service these clients, and it became a big problem. So in our industry, we charge basically on a flat fee, which means that, okay, you come to us, you have an issue, we'll charge you, let's say $5,000 to take care of your tax matter. And so you're paying upfront for that fee. You could spread it out over a few months and chop it up. That's fine. But unless you work the case and get the case resolved, if you're not working on that case properly, that $5,000 is gone, and years will go by,
Right.
and you're still working a case that's not paying you.
You're working either for free or you're paying to work for, the
Exactly.
taxpayer. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it gets to a situation where if you don't work the cases properly and the cases get old, then all of a sudden you have a very high inventory sitting there and no one is paying you. And now all of a sudden you have to staff properly to work these cases that they're not paying you on. And so this is a formula for disaster in our industry where you make a bunch of sales, but the case doesn't get closed properly. Then the clients are in your inventory for 4 or 5 years and you're just bleeding out money. And then those tax resolution companies close.
Right.
And then the investors start a new company and do the same thing.
I think we have like a unique advantage where we worked at that company where they did a lot of things that are great. Like you said in the beginning, we learned a lot about protocol, like just everything, what to do and what not to do.
Right.
I think we learned from that company, and we took all of that. You took all of that, and now we know exactly what to do, what not to do with the taxpayer, and to really be as efficient as possible.
Absolutely. So for us, we want to get our cases closed within months, not years.
Right.
And we don't like having repeat customers. If you're a customer of ours or a client of ours and we fix your tax problem, hopefully you've learned your lesson and you can move on and you don't need to be a client of ours again. Jackie, do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience at these other tax resolution companies? So Jackie's worked at a couple of them.
Yes.
We've been lucky to have Jackie with us for a while, on and off. But she did work for a few of these companies before. And you want to just give some typical situations?
Scenario. So I've worked at a handful over the last 14 years that I've been doing this, and so I've got to see a lot of the good and the bad. I would say, like you said, not to badmouth any of the companies,
right,
because they all have their their strengths, and so their strengths may be sales, so they're churning out and they're selling a lot. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the an adequate number of case managers in enrolled agents to work these cases, they're just going to sit there, and it only leads to collection action, angry clients, and you're not even making money on these retainers anymore. So it really starts from the beginning, from that initial call with the taxpayer. And a lot of these places I've seen, these salespeople up front, like I said, are from a sales background. So not that they're doing it on purpose, they just really don't know what that work is going to entail, or may or may not know how to price. I think being able to price the retainer adequately is really important. And so then they may sell 10 clients or 10 retainers per day, but you're putting that onto the case managers who may or may not have even the bandwidth to take on those new accounts, and it's a recipe for disaster all around. And so knowing how to price, setting client expectations, I think is number one, and I think we're really good at that, where you really care about the taxpayer and their outcomes. So you're not going to overpromise.
Right.
So it's important to have that conversation where they know what to expect. They know that it's nothing is ever guaranteed, but we're really going to try our hardest, and we're really in it just to help you, and not in it just for the money. And we're not going to take you on. And that's a big thing for you. Yeah. It's not just a sale for you. If I can't help you, I'm not going to take you on as a client. And a lot of these other places will promise, the moon and the stars just to close that sale, just to make that sale, and let the case manager worry about it. And that just, it never works out for anyone on either side of that equation.
Absolutely. And that's a really interesting point, because over here at our firm, only the attorneys will bring on new clients, and the attorneys have spoken to the IRS. Right. They know what it takes to close the case. And so that makes the consultation a real consultation, where you're getting to speak to an attorney that's actually worked the case.
Exactly.
Now, these other places, salespeople are great. They're needed in so many industries. It's unique in this situation because someone's going to work this case for months or years on end. So if you're not giving the right information on that first sales call, somebody else has to really deal with the consequences of that.
100%.
It's not like you're selling a widget or a car or some type of product and then you make the sale and then that you'll never deal with that person again. When you do the consultation and the person wants to come on board, somebody else from the company has to deal with that person, has to manage their expectations again, has to work the case. So if you are selling something that's not there and is fool's gold, somebody else is going to have to bear the consequences of that, and that's just not fair.
And it's going to come back to you eventually, because if you promise something that we all know is not going to happen just to make those sales or just to meet your quota, eventually it is going to fall apart. And it is going to come back to you, whether it be in the form of a complaint or a refund or that case just sitting there for 4 or 5 years and getting pushed from case manager to case manager. It is always going to come back and bite you. So it's really important, that conversation. Like you said, most of these other companies, you will not speak to an attorney on that consultation call. You will speak to a salesperson.
Exactly. And then somebody was telling us, Jackie, I think they were telling both of us, that the company had sent an email out to everybody in the company who was working the cases, basically saying, if our salespeople sold an offer in compromise or sold them on something, don't tell them that that's not true until we've gotten a few payments from them. And don't tell them that we can't provide that service until 6 months goes by and we've received payment. Because what was happening is the sales guys would say, yes, you qualify, you can get a 95% reduction. Then when it went to the case manager after the sale, the case manager was like, there's no way we could reduce this. And then if they told the client that, then the client would rescind and not want to move forward. So the head of the company sent an email to all the employees saying, after the sale is made, make sure not to mention that we can't do some of the product until we've gotten some form of payment.
And in some of these instances, I mean, their retainers are spread out over the next 18, 24, 36 months.
Wow.
So are we just supposed to, because you have a really knowledgeable case manager who does a really good job at that first phone call with the taxpayer and says, looking at this, you're not going to qualify for an offer, but they just signed up to make payments for the next 36 months. Am I supposed to just lie or sit on it? That's just not ethical. It's not.
I can't believe that.
So it just, no way does that work. So I've seen a lot of the nastier tactics, I would say, that they use, and it's just it's never going to work out. And that's what I really want to emphasize, that we don't do that at all. It's just honesty and managing expectations, and the taxpayer knows every step of the way what we're doing and why we're doing it.
And that's so important. And I was just talking to a revenue agent today, actually, that came in the office, and she said, the reason why that they like working with us and really value what we do is we try to educate our clients as much as possible. So yes, we are trying to resolve their tax matter. That's part of it. But if we can educate them so they understand what's going on, how the IRS works, how to make certain payments, why they need to make the payments, and educate them, that in itself is providing a level of service that I don't think a lot of people are doing. Yes, anybody can set up a payment plan. You can call the IRS, set up a payment plan. I don't think there's value there. Understanding the different types of programs, understanding how you got into this mess, how you're not going to repeat it, and having a good understanding of your tax liability, that education piece, I think, is also missing in a lot of places.
Most definitely. So I think if you give them the knowledge, they feel more confident. They're not scared. They come to us. They're scared of the IRS. They don't even want to open the IRS letters. They hope that if they ignore it, it'll go away. But you really say, no, look, this is what you have to do going forward to avoid this situation in the future. Then they feel confident. They feel like, okay, I'm not going to ignore this situation. I can actually tackle it. And that's better for the company as well, because then they're telling their friends, hey, I dealt with it. I got on this really good payment call. Call them up. I got these guys. They handled it for me. When they feel confident, they feel confident in us. They feel confident in themselves. It just really works out great for everyone.
And then once they get the results, they just goes all the way. Like we have to build trust with them. And then the cherry on top is that perfect resolution of saving them money, doing what we need to do. But it's a lot easier to get to that result if they have the confidence in us and can trust us to get the job done.
Right. And then, we want to make sure that they're confident in the resolution and why we're doing it. And like you said, setting them up, because then 6 months from now, a year from now, when they've missed that payment,
Right.
they really weren't even sure of the resolution. They're going to come back. They're going to come back.
Exactly.
More likely than not, they're not going to want to pay again.
Yeah, and they're going to be unhappy.
And they're going to be unhappy.
Yep.
And so, you do it right the first time, and everyone, everyone's happy.
Absolutely. So again, we don't want to badmouth anybody in the industry. This is not the purpose of this podcast. It's just to kind of shed light from somebody who has worked at a few different resolution companies, what's out there.
Right.
Hopefully that's not the norm, and maybe sometimes. But there are firms like us that are law firms that are really trying to do the right thing and sign clients up and really get the resolution done.
Right.
Luckily, those clients love leaving us reviews, so there's a lot of good information out there on our firm. But really, the message to everybody is just be careful. Be careful, not only in our industry, in really any service industry. Do your due diligence.
Right.
Read the reviews. Make sure you're talking to a licensed person. You just got to feel comfortable moving forward. And a lot of these companies try to hide their bad reviews. So look on Yelp, look on Google, look on BBB. Really do your due diligence to find the right company, and just make sure that you are just not dealing with simply a salesman on that call who's giving you the world, and it's definitely not going to happen.
I would say look out for red flags. Are you talking to a salesperson? What kind of experience do they have, with tax resolution?
Right.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. And red flag is if they guarantee you any kind of result right up front,
Right.
just to get you to close on that sale. If someone is pressuring you to sign up and guaranteeing you reduction in general, automatic red flag.
That's a great point.
Because we will not know. I mean, you can tell us all of the details, and we still will not know until we, contact the IRS, we discuss your account. So, like you said, just be careful. If they're overpromising, just don't be afraid to speak up, do research, talk to, more than one. I mean, we have
Absolutely.
clients that get calls every day from advertisements that make it look like it's coming from the IRS.
Yeah, absolutely.
These advertisements that it looks like they're coming from the IRS, these liens, levy notices. That is also a red flag. If they're using those
Absolutely.
kind of tactics to scare you into signing up with them.
Absolutely.
Red flag.
That's actually a good point is, it's not the 70s. We have so much information available at our fingertips. The hard sell doesn't work. The scare tactics don't work. We do not implement any of those. But there are companies that will say, oh, if you don't sign up, you're going to get levied.
Right.
Or look, you have this levy notice, but it's not a real levy notice from the IRS. It's from the company.
Exactly.
And they're making it look like
Yes.
you're getting levied when you're not. So there's a lot of things that everybody needs to watch out for. For the most part, I think just doing enough research, talking to a few companies, making sure you're talking to a licensed person are the things that are going to take it home. And then if anybody needs a second opinion or wants to reach out to us, all of our consultations are absolutely free at Victory Tax Lawyers. You'll talk to a licensed person, and we'll just provide you with free legal advice at that time if you need it.
Yeah, we were just talking about that you have conversations with these, client or taxpayers who are not clients actually, but you're always willing to answer questions.
Absolutely. We just want people to know, and the more people know, the better, and the more people we can talk to, the better. So everybody just watch out for these scam companies. There are a lot out there. There are some good companies too, so just do your research. And if you guys need any help, you could contact Victory Tax Lawyers. That is it for Duck the IRS podcast. Thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you for having
being
me.
part of this podcast. And tune in, guys, and we'll have a lot more content. Thank you.
Thank you.